that you've got an opposition that isn't being an opposition.
Yep.
They can't even stand up and say it's wrong to not let somebody like Candace Owens into the country just because she has some different views. We're not even going to let her speak here. I mean, let's think about it. That's insane.
Yeah,
it's a mother of three.
Yeah, well, that's another topic
nuts.
we've got to go into. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this, but Candace Owens, once again, whenever Joel tries to put on a tour on, it's just like, well, let's fire everything at it.
You bring
basically.
problems.
Yeah, you're a troublemaker.
Yeah, but you know what? Like, this is why I do what I do, because I really, and again, it's not just me. There's a whole team behind me and what we're doing. But Candace Owens, she wants to come out from the 14th of November to the 22nd of November. You can see the dates at candacelive.com.au. And the Peter Dutton and many in the Jewish lobby basically are lobbying to try and keep her out of the country. And what's astonishing is, in New Zealand, not even the Jewish lobby there are saying she should be banned. They're saying,
and to be fair, the AJA, the Australian Jewish Association, the right-wing Jewish lobby, conservative Jewish lobby, are saying, okay, they're worried about what she was saying, but they don't support her being kept out of the country.
Doesn't she?
Right?
Doesn't she represent diversity?
Well,
wrong kind of diversity.
See, that's the thing. Wrong kind of diversity,
my kind of
right?
opinion.
The only kind of diversity that counts to them is the most shallow form of diversity. Everyone looks different and thinks the same, as opposed to the reverse.
Yeah.
Actually, have a diverse debate and diversity of thought is what matters. Your skin color shouldn't matter.
Yeah. So Paul, Damien, actually, did you end up asking her about what the attempt to ban her? Because your interview
we just did the interview, recorded it this morning for tonight's show, and we're recording this on a Friday. So by the time this goes to air, everyone will probably have seen the interviews. But she basically is just shocked. She said to me, it's like, is Australia okay? Are you still a democracy, more or less? And she was only half joking. I mean, and I relayed a story. A mate of mine sent me a text this morning. I couldn't believe it. Very coincidental. He's on holiday in Spain. Sends me a text this morning saying, I went to a winery and had a drink, bumped into an American girl, and she asked him, is Australia a democracy?
I got the same question when I was in America.
You're in trouble when the black American woman is saying we need to invade Australia and spread democracy.
She's just kidding.
She's just kidding, obviously, but it was funny during COVID because it was just like I could use some help. We could use some help because they've strayed from the values. And we just read the values on the Australian website.
What she did say, by the way, was just that if a politician in America tried to say we're going to block somebody because of their speech, and it's like a mother of three who's just a commentator, not a violent person with a serious threat to the country, they would be hounded out of office. She said, so culturally there is still that real commitment to freedom in the US that we probably have lost a bit here.
And by the way, guys, just to tie a nice bow on that, I do believe we're going to get her visa, and if we don't, we'll definitely be challenging it. But the idea that they allowed Tucker Carlson in so soon, and also Djokovic, who they blocked previously.
Can I say on Tucker Carlson though?
Yeah.
I was on a video call with their producers before it was out that they were out. They had no idea that this visa issue would happen.
Seriously,
it is not widely known, and the only way that they did end up getting a visa when they did was a high-placed Labour-leaning lawyer, a celebrity lawyer. This is really hard to do, and it takes lining pockets of Labour politicians to get there. So Joel, all power to you, but Tucker faced a massive uphill journey. I was on a video call, and they had no idea. Their faces, the producers' faces just went white, and they went, what? As I showed them all of these visas that have been cancelled.
What about Dan Tian? The shadow immigration spokesman, right? Also calling for this to happen, and Lisa, the MP from Victoria, saying that he also wants her banned. It's like, I'm sorry, are you supposed to be the opposition? I want to finish that point I was making before, and this really leads into it. Sorry, Joel, I'm talking too much, and I'll shut up in a minute.
No, this is why we do 2 hours.
The point I was trying to get to is that if you don't have an opposition that's actually acting as an opposition, and you don't have a parliament that's actually having that, what happens? People get disenfranchised, disillusioned, angry. What do? They go to the streets, right? And so the very reason Parliament exists, which is to stop the violence, goes by the by, and then we see riots. And then you see the elites going, oh, gee, why are there riots happening in the UK right now? Oh, well, for how many years have people been telling you they have no faith
Yeah.
in the Conservative Party.
They don't feel represented.
The
No,
girls,
working class don't have any faith in the Labor
Yeah.
Party. The Conservatives don't have any faith in the Conservative Party. They all carry on like there's nothing wrong for 10 years. Then when it all explodes in their face, they go, oh, what's going on here?
When you
It's
realize
even worse
democracy
than
is an
that.
illusion.
And it's even worse than that, isn't it, Paul? Because then they start. All they know by that point is how to hit stuff. So they're a hammer in search of a nail. And so when that pops up, they're just like bam, 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 and it gets worse. And they don't know. They so believe in their own virtue that they're like we But it's like, but hang on, there are decades of Pakistani rape gangs going after, these girls, these white girls in these rural areas, like in Rotherham and all these other. I might be getting Rotherham and Rotterdam, mixed up, but it's actually happening in both cities, which is heartbreaking.
Yep.
But it's disgusting, and when I see that happening, and you don't give people, it's like shaking up this isn't the sort of drink that bursts, but if this was Coke and you shake it, and democracy is going to Parliament and just slowly easing it, slowly letting the pressure out. But when you don't do that and you shake, and then you pull it off quickly, and these protests just sort of bursts it out, it just goes everywhere. And that's the problem we've got right now. But Chris, you've been very quiet, and you've got a very interesting insight on this topic. Freedom protests. We see people from every religion, every skin color. Why do you think that is? When you went out there and filmed these freedom protests in the COVID years, I'd like to think they all subscribe to these values.
Lockdowns are actually quite equal in that way. But what got people the most angry was that it was Western Sydney, multicultural, or should I say Islamic areas that were the most determined to come out there. Why were there so many different groups? Well, we also got to lead into is that why it also broke apart as well is because it was an annealing of so many different people's views and values that then had to work out how do we Ricardo Bosi, how do we now try and keep these together? And that's why we're seeing this moment is it is multicultural. There has not been the assimilation integration that came together over lockdowns, that one issue that was there. And now how do we keep this kind of ragtag group together? Who's going to lead it? Are we going to go and hail Putin in one direction? Or is this how are we going to deal with these multicultural issues? And that's why it struggled, because it's so divided, because there was no dialogue between it.
Yeah, and that's what's really helpful.
Western Sydney, they came down hard during the lockdowns,
Yeah.
when they locked up Western Sydney. It was one of the first
Yeah, that's right.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
It was Liverpool targeted lockdowns.
targeted,
Yeah, because you were the least compliant in southwestern Sydney.
Yeah, and then Bondi would go beach.
Yep.
They had their freedom, and then in Western Sydney, it was that was just something ready to erupt.
On the same day, I filmed down in Guildford, horses running down the main street. I filmed that, and not 6 hours later, I was on Bondi Beach filming people. The workout boys on the beach. Rollerblading. How's things?
And I think the outbreak started from someone in Bondi coming to Western Sydney. I mean, something ridiculous like that.
People forget these things. One of the astonishing things about the Sydney response